Cahirlock, people's expectation to own their own home now for many is only a pipe dream. But why? If the economy was never stronger and employment levels are so high. NAMA is part of the answer. Initially sold to the public as a system that would save the housing market by warehousing loans. But instead, this changed midstream and those loans were sold to vulture funds, resulting in the utter collapse and devastation of the housing market in Ireland. Ruined developers made bankrupt at every turn. The skilled workforce they employed left for greener pastures, never to return. Whatever the spin doctors say about developers, it wasn't the builders and developers that caused the housing collapse, but they are part of the solution if they were only listened to by the politicians. Those words I first uttered on the floor of the Dáil in February 2020, when I was first elected. And here's a little more of what I said at the time, Minister. Change means looking at and introducing current macroprudential rules, not applying rules for another era. And could we consider a mortgage interest rate cap? Banks, as we hear every day, are making excessive profits. Can we simply legislate to equate multiples of borrowing to the current interest rates, not 10-year-old interest rates? The Irish banks were flush with money, and we had a regulator that could only be described as asleep at the wheel. And today, 2.5 years since I uttered those words, we now have a regulator that has woken up. It's just a few years too late, as he decides to increase the multiples a house buyer can borrow, but their ability to repay is greatly reduced because of a cost of living crisis, and at a time when interest rates are rising at speed. Let me go back to my 2020 maiden speech. The only people now building properties are the cuckoo funds, who, as we know, pay no taxes. But the optics are that we're building, and we will never be able to break free of the rental limbo this government has put us in, nor will the affordability crisis ever be over unless we change how we do things. That means taking real decisive action that works. Today, optics and spin is not what it's about. Policies that work is what it's about. It means strong leadership, standing up and being counted when faced with officials that won't listen, like a regulator insisting on implementation of regulation and measures that reduce viability, such as dezoning lands, even serviced lands. It's just mind-boggling. And not forgetting that every new build, this government takes a tax of 33%. But yet, rather than reduce VAT on new builds to zero, like our nearest neighbours in Northern Ireland, and encourage building and affordability, you attack people's property rights. An eviction ban is the only necessary because of this government and previous government's disastrous attitude to housing. Not to forget, Ireland was the only country who closed down their building sector during COVID. Instead of taking actions to encourage building, you increased the cost of doing so. A block levy, a lifelong levy for the innocent to pay when those responsible are tasked with the oversight right off into the sunset, laughing at the prospect that they got away scot-free. And this government is making sure housing is unaffordable for those most in need, the first-time buyers, by introducing a levy. Sticking plasters, Cahirlock. There is not one big idea coming from this government with regards to housing. Scheme after scheme being announced, no evidence that they increased the supply. No meaningful actions. Where's the LDA? Cushcuna, nonsense, all spin. No one in the county councils to carry out the inspections, all afraid to make a decision. On July the 6th of 2021, there was a debate about a ban on rent increases. In that debate, Minister O'Brien closed his remarks by saying, "There's no single silver bullet solution to rents. There are many solutions and a multifaceted approach is required." That is what the government is doing, a realistic way of dealing with this would be to assess over a 12-month period how the measures we hope to pass tomorrow night, with the support of deputies and all parties and none, are taking effect. We must have a proportionate response that is not going to impact on the supply in the market. Well, I'll challenge any government member to explain how the situation is better than it was in July 2021, when those comments were made, after all of the interventions made by the government. Or is it that you now believe a ban on no-fault evictions is a silver bullet? It's time to admit, Minister, that the government and the Housing Department are out of their depth, they're out of ideas, and now they're out of housing. Thank you.